All right.
Okay, let's start.
Okay. Okay. My name's Pete Hoppins. I'm from England. I've been living in Portland for 15 years. I used to work for Nike way back, and then actually opened the Toffee Club. Don't know if anyone's familiar with that spot. It was on 10th and Hawthorne. It was like a soccer bar with my wife and my brother. And then a few years later, we opened Away Days Brewing right next door. Just literally a tiny little 1,500 square foot brewery. We've been in there for 4.5 years. The lease has run up, and we are ready to kind of make our next move. Next slide. So that's me. I'm the owner. I do all the marketing, design, all that stuff, and also the chief beer drinker. That's my main role. Nikki, my wife, she's not here tonight. She's with the kids. She's the owner, GM. She runs the show. She's the main boss. And we have one brewer, Marshall. He's away right now. And then we have one taproom manager, Jamie. That is literally our team. There's like 4 of us. We do the whole thing. We are expanding slightly in this space, so we will probably be hiring a few folks. We'll obviously be expanding our hours as well. So more to come on that. Next slide, John. This is a bit of an eyesore, but maybe the folks at home can read it. But this is a bit of the timeline from where we've been. So, like I said, 2019 is when we opened Away Days Brewing. Obviously, like 6 months before the pandemic, so not the best time to open a brewery or a business, but we got through it. We kind of started distributing our beer out into the world. But basically, we've run out of space, and our leases run out, and we're kind of ready for the next move. We know, I don't know if you guys know Andy Lewitz. He owns Deform. I think his office is just here. He owns the building the Array Bottle Shop's in, and the Meta building. So he actually built the original Toffee Club space out. So we've known him for years. And we kind of just got into conversation with him about, we were looking for another space in Portland. Did he know anywhere? And he said, well, there's a place in Brooklyn that's just come up. If you're interested, I'll buy the building and I'll fix it up for you. So that's basically the agreement. And so I think that it's happened pretty quickly. So like end of last year, I think we kind of made agreement with Andy, and kind of it's all systems go. He's a great guy, super transparent, and he's invested in the neighborhood. We actually our kids my kid plays football around the corner on the park around there and center. So, and we have like a lot of our friends actually live, and our customers live in Brooklyn neighborhood as well. So we live in Sunnyside, and I think our kids will probably go to Cleveland. I'm not sure. So I'm kind of interested to hear the next presentation as well. So, okay, next slide, John. This is a little bit like about like who we are and like our mission and vision. Kind of like what we're trying to do with Away Days. We don't come from a beer background. We come from like a design and sport background, and so part of our kind of like thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to do everything differently. We're not a kind of like, I don't know, trying to like stereotypical brewery, big beard, tattoo, kind of IPA swilling thing. That's not our thing. We're really here to kind of like create community and build something kind of special. And one of the other things that we do, John, can you switch to the next slide, is we're really focused on sport. I come from a soccer background. That's my so we have a Away Days FC. We have 6 teams, over 30s, over 40s, over 50s. We have a women's team, and we have a co-ed team. And so we'll all play under the umbrella of Away Days FC. We have a run club as well that meets every Thursday evening. We have a run club. We have a run club. And we're in the throes of creating a bike club as well. So we're very much about like, it's not just about the beer, it's very much about like the brand, the community, and just kind of creating something cool. All right, next slide. So you guys all, sorry about for the people who are listening at home, you didn't get to sample any of the beer, but I did bring some beer, some examples of some beer that we have. We kind of split it up into like franchise, seasonal, and limited. Our tap room, our current brewery system is so small that we don't really have we don't have like the same beer available all the time. So we kind of mix it up all the time. So but you can see our beer on shelf in New Seasons, Market of Choice, John's Market, Belmont Station, Beer Mongers, and a bunch of other restaurants and bars in town. So we're pretty small. We have a 5-barrel system. We make about 650 barrels a year. That's the maximum we can do out of our current space. The beer is mostly English and European styles, plus a couple of like we've thrown a couple of West Coast IPAs as well. So there's kind of like something for everyone. We're not like all in on hazies or IPAs. There's like a real good mix for everyone, and a lot of the beers are low ABV as well. So it's it's good for folks who want to have multiple beers. So
When is it gonna open, or were you getting it?
I'm getting to that. I'm just teasing you all the way.
Patience.
Okay, yeah. So operations. So the tap room. So currently we are open only Thursday through Sunday, like select hours. We have like a small tap room. Part of that reason is because where we are positioned right now, we're in Southeast Industrial. It's not the best area, especially since pandemic. So the idea is when we open up on Cora, we're gonna expand the hours. We're gonna do at least 6 days a week, maybe 7. We're going to be open 12 noon till 10 p.m. Most days, and then on the weekends we're actually going to we're going to go open early and show soccer games. So that's kind of what we used to do at the Toffee Club. So anyone who's like a EPL fan or Timbers fan, we're going to be the space to watch the game. So that's going to be exciting. So we'll have some kind of like breakfast option. Caveat: food. We are going to have. There's going to be a food cart, like a permanent food cart. We actually have a deal in place with a very, very, very exciting, amazing food provider, which we can't tell you right now, but it's going to be really, really good. So we're working with them to kind of nail that down. We also we're probably going to have like to-go fridge, and we'll probably have like some like kind of like pantry staples as well, just like, and some wine. So because we know like in this neighborhood, especially, it's there's a lot of dive bars, but there isn't particularly anything for the whole family. We're going to be like, minors are going to be allowed. We have 7 and 9-year-olds. There's also going to be a beer garden as well, so there's going to be plenty of space for the whole family. John. Okay, and then here's some, I don't know if you can see this that well, but here's some like early renders of the space. I don't know, is everyone familiar with the building where the Entwistle building? Yeah, so at the moment, I don't know if you can see these are like kind of pretty raw 3D renders, but we are going to, the building is currently being gutted right now. So I don't know if you went past there any time over the last 10 years, but it was basically full to the rafters with just junk.
For picture.
Yeah, I have some. We've got some current process pictures, but yeah, it was a mess. So, but it's pretty much, if anyone's got the time, go and swing by. People are working on it right now. All the permits are done, so works literally start. Oh yeah, cool. So you can kind of see the space. So there's going to be a garage door, a roll-up door on the Cora side and on the back side as well. So you'll be able to kind of like literally walk through the whole space. The brewery will be on the kind of far side. So we're putting like trench drains in. We're going to bring in skylights as well to bring some extra skylights in. The building is currently the roof's being changed, and they've got to do some seismic upgrades as well. And then, this actually, we're going to rebuild. There is a covered patio area, which has been torn down. It's going to be rebuilt. But there's going to be like the beer garden itself is like the same size as the building. So there's going to be plenty of space. Okay, next slide, John. And then I think there's a floor plan image is the next one. Yeah, so here's the floor plan. So this is Cora, this section. So this will be the main entrance as you come in here. So there's a covered entrance here. You come in. This will be kind of like a merch to go area. Then the main bar will be over here. There'll be trash rooms. This is the driveway. So you can see the van. So this will be our like delivery van here. Three double restrooms, 88 restrooms, and then you can see kind of like the side of that beer garden. Actually, we're going to change things around a little bit. The cold storage is going to come here, and the food cart's going to tuck into the corner. The food cart probably won't be that big either. One other thing as well to note. I'm like a designer by trade, so I have a little design studio. So we're gonna have like a little mini office in there. So we help other small businesses do like design work, like in branding and websites and stuff. So we'll have a little space, and then we can like photograph our cans and all our merch and stuff like that. So that'll be our like office kind of studio space. So we'll probably be here, me and my wife, like most days of the week, because I've been in my son's bedroom for like as a work from home office for it's run its course. So no, that's pretty much it. It's gonna maybe get slightly tweaked. So and then the picnic benches as well. Yeah.
Cora Street.
Cora's here.
Okay.
Yeah. Cora's here, and then there's the embroidery stitching businesses here. Well, there's a car park here that they have. So we're actually going to, I don't know, we haven't met them yet, but we want to kind of speak to them about like maybe sharing the car park as well. Yeah.
That little spot behind your van might be a good place to put a bike rack.
Yeah, I know. I think we have to put bike parking on Cora.
At the sidewalk.
No, I think we do from the the city. So we'll do that anyway, I think. Actually, we'll probably put along there, because it's actually pretty wide, that driveway. But we're trying to figure out what the property line is right now, so we can figure out where the fence is going to be. Okay. Cool. And then we just have, so this is kind of like what it currently looks like. There's my kids. And then, we just started to clear out the backyard. So it's like, it's going to be pretty big back there. Now we've kind of like started to shift some stuff. Next slide, John. And then you can see, this is what it looks like right now. So the whole thing has been gutted. Everything's been taken out. And so they just took the roof off, and they're just putting a new roof on there. They got to hire it up a little bit. I have some great old photos as well. We took like photos of like some of the junk in there as well. So because some of that stuff had been there for like since the 70s. Some of the junk, or like stuff that basically the old guy was like a hoarder, and it's just like.
But had it last been an actual operating business? Do you know?
Pardon?
When had Whistle?
Yeah. Oh, I think about. Well, I think did he die like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I think that's something. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how long the business, but
It's been sitting empty for 10
yeah,
years.
and Andy took some of the more interesting pieces. So there's like taxidermy and a few other like random things that I'm not sure it will fit with our brand, but like there's some bits that will, like the sign, like the 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the address, which is super cool. So some of those little like details we're going to bring into the space.
I love
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. And then this is just kind of like some inspiration mood boards of like what the vibe and the look is going to look like. So we're going for this kind of like local cafe, kind of like skate shop kind of idea. We're going to have like we'll want to put like a sandwich sign up on Milwaukee. We actually want to have some kind of outdoor seating at the outside on Cora, because we do want it to feel welcoming and part of the street and the community. And then we'll have some kind of graphic mural, probably on both sides actually of the building, so people can see it as they're going past on Milwaukee Ave. Next slide. In terms of like the inside, I don't know if anyone, there's some discount cards on over here for our current location, so 25% off. Come and check out our current location and you can get a sense of like what we're about and the brand. And so so the place won't be that dissimilar to that. It's kind of, it doesn't, you're in a brewery because the brewery equipment's there, but the space itself is quite light and bright. It's not like a traditional kind of like hardwood, kind of raw metal brewery. This is going to be feel a lot more light and modern and interesting. So
Very colorful.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next, and then this is just inspiration for the beer garden. So we're going to have like a combination of like gravel, some deck, and some turf, and then like bring in some on the base some covered area with string lights, gas pits. Obviously, we'll have the food cart. So we want, and then we've got a friend who's going to come in and like do all the flowers and plants and stuff. So we want to make that like a little kind of like secret like haven neighborhood spot. Yeah. Next, John. June 1.
Is that your opening day?
That's the opening date.
This year.
This year.
No.
Dang.
Yeah.
It's too bad it's not on the homepage.
Really.
Yeah. It is aggressive.
Oh, you know what? It can start before
You
summer.
got your permits.
We might add you. we
That's
might
the thing that takes forever. Yeah. So
We'll see.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That'll be okay.
Oh, well, can
But
I
it's
can I
June 15th.
can I oh can I come?
June 15th. Yeah, you can come. You can join us for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is the building hopefully should be done mid-May. And then it'll take us a week or two to like take all our stuff from the current location over there. So that's going to be the tricky one, but we can't really afford to like lose any time on brewing. So it's got to happen. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have a question.
Any questions? Yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Cheryl, she, her. I've been reading Cheer Challenge for the Portland Marathon since it started coming through Brooklyn. And I don't know if you're familiar, but it comes right down
I heard.
like on
Yeah.
your corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes straight down Milwaukee. So the first year we won first place. Brooklyn did, yeah. And then since then, our nemesis has been Faux Po Running Club,
Oh, yeah.
and they've won the last 2 years. So we're expecting your running club
Yeah.
to come through with some votes and
Oh.
some running events in Brooklyn. We are so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, it's true. We're kind of friends with
You're kind of friends with the Fofo guys.
So do you know, they come, they join us for runs and we join their base for runs as well. But you know, we've only been doing our run club for a year and we're not really in a neighborhood, whereas like they're in a neighborhood, they've been doing it for years. So I'm expecting Brooklyn neighborhood to come through.
Right.
And we'll like build this into a proper run club and then we can have a competition and show them
Right.
across.
Do it. Well, it'll take a couple.
Yeah, you're
couple
gonna be
years.
our running club.
Yeah.
By the way, we have a band every year. Well, this year we turned it into a DJ. So we line the route with Cheer Challenge. Sure. Sorry, they can't hear it on there.
Yeah.
So how is it working with the city of Portland? And was this a requirement that you present to us to get permits or anything?
No.
Or has it been pretty smooth getting permits and hazardous cleanup and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting. And we're working on a separate project out in Troutdale, which is still Multnomah County. And that's been a total disaster when it comes to permits. But that's because the people who were just stays in this room and on this line, the people who were the developer who we're working with on this Brooklyn neighborhood, Andy from Deform, and the base architecture have been absolutely amazing. So they're like, they know how all the permits work, what to expect. They've navigated that amazingly. It's been kind of smooth sailing, really.
That's good to hear, because sometimes in Brooklyn, we feel like we're overlooked or we're not quite treated well by the city of Portland when it comes to development or something. So that's good to hear, and
Yeah.
that's why I asked.
Yeah, I think, well, actually, did I reach out to you guys or did you guys reach out to me? I can't remember.
You reached out to us
Yeah,
originally
yeah.
and just said, hey, I want to come talk to you.
Yeah.
Which was
Well,
awesome.
That's what why
Yeah.
not? Why wouldn't you do it? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, and also we have a business association
Yeah.
that we will be expecting you to join.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as they move your operation.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. You know.
Right.
Well, I think what's what we're excited about is like we're currently we do all these events and we work our ass off over in Southeast
PEI.
Industrial,
Yeah,
and all the people who actually come to our customers we're not in a neighborhood.
right.
So it's a destination spot. So people are coming from all over Portland just to go to that brewery and support us, or they're coming from Brooklyn and going over there.
Right.
We have a lot of people from here. So I think that's what the thing that we're looking for is that actually with all the energies that we're putting in, we would like to bring it to an actual neighborhood that are engaged in the success of the place and the community. So that's the main thing we're kind of jazzed about. So,
And I will tell you, everybody who moves to the Brooklyn neighborhood is happy they did.
yeah.
They all love it here. They always have a great business once they get here. So,
we're
and you're in good company. We have a ton of alcohol in this neighborhood. So you are in good company.
Yeah.
Be the only part that have plywood or windows.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
For a few minutes.
How
Yeah.
right is
Yeah.
these places still it's the Brooklyn pub and
Yeah, the
and-
Brooklyn pub,
and,
yeah. He has reasons still.
It's
He's
expensive.
slow.
it's expensive to fix up the smashed windows every
Yeah.
all the time.
Cheap.
No, well, it's a problem.
I do want to say in defense of the pub with the windows. They're waiting for a person to make specialty bars that are art.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah, so like the bear paw will
Yeah.
have a bear on it and a paw,
Oh,
I think. And
nice.
then the other
I'm a big Bear Paw
business
fan,
will have
so-
an artistic
Yeah,
thing, but they have to wait until the artisan is ready to do them.
Yeah.
It's a long list in Portland of trying to get bars in the window.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
one quick question. So there's gonna be a certainly a nice food cart pod that's gonna open sometime this year, I think, at Southeast Holgate.
Yeah.
And McLaughlin with
Yeah.
La Coretta.
Yeah, we're lost right away.
yeah.
Will you be, so you're gonna have your own food?
No, we're gonna have one food cart,
Yeah.
one company.
Okay,
That's it.
will you be able to bring food from
No.
elsewhere? Or you'll just have your own?
It's just to be ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I want. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Just on that one, we'll probably have some other food snack options for when the food cart isn't open. Because
Right.
by law, like we won't be serving liquor at this tap room, which means we don't have to serve food,
Right.
but we will have some snacks for when the food cart's not open.
Well, like Array does and
Yeah,
that sort of place, they have
Yeah.
little snacky things.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Pete. We really appreciate it. I'm gonna invite Eric and Hector up to chat with us about Cleveland. Anybody needs a snack or a beer, now is the time. Courtesy of away days. And yeah, I'm really excited about hearing about Cleveland. So John's gonna get everything up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hector Lopez, and I appreciate you letting us come and speak with you tonight. Today I'm going to be talking about the Cleveland High School Modernization. I want to start off by saying that currently we have funding for the design of the school, but we do not have funding for the construction. So I just want to make that clear. We don't have a start date or a end date for when the project would be happening, as the funding for that portion is dependent on a future bond that could be flown out this November. So just want to throw that out there. Next slide, please. Myself and Eric, we're from PPS, but specifically from a department called the Office of Modernization. The Office of Modernization is the department charged with administering PPS capital improvement projects. That's really mostly what we work on. So OSM is not part of the Office of Teaching and Learning. We don't deal with any of the education portion or teaching or anything like that. And we're also not part of the maintenance operations group, which is facilities asset management. So we don't deal with like roofs that, are leaking or stuff like that. We deal specifically with modernizing or building new buildings. So next slide, please. So we have many sources that influence the design of our buildings. As you can imagine, there's a lot of interest in these buildings. They're sort of large, cornerstones of the community sometimes. And so these are all sort of examples of the different avenues where we get information from, such as the bond budget, right? So how much can we actually spend and what can we build with what we have? The needs for school capacity, that influences what types of buildings we need to build, what they need to look like specifically. Our PPS climate crisis response policy, that's something that's currently influencing how we're designing our buildings so they can be more sustainable in the future and have a lower carbon footprint. And we do have this set of standards, design standards, which is called the High School Education Specifications, which specifies what size our classrooms need to be, how many classrooms we need to have, what types of other areas that can support teaching activities. So we do have a set of specifications we have to build to. And also a big part of it is public engagement. So that's why we're here tonight. We want to, share with you what we've been doing and, hopefully, we can get some information out to you. Next slide, please. So for the last few months, what we've largely been focusing on top of early conceptual designs is our community engagement process, which two parts have been sort of the larger process right now. The comprehensive planning committee, which includes teachers, members of the community, and students. And we've also had community design workshops where we've invited the larger community to come out and participate and absorb information that the architects and ourselves have been able to provide. So you can see Eric in the back there giving the presentation. And, over here to the left, you see folks putting dots on boards. And what that is an activity that helps us collect information. So we put questions up there like, would you like this or would you like that? And where you see the most dots is the responses that we're getting. Next slide, please. So the heart of what these community meetings have been coming up with concepts for the actual site. Not so much the building per se in detail, but rather the campus itself and what the building might look like, in blocks. Because it is the conceptual planning phase, we're not getting into detail of, what it's going to look like or even how many floors it's going to be, if it's 3 floors or 4 floors, of stories. So it's really just about the site, what the site could be like, these sort of larger questions. So what I have here are 2 concepts that we've been discussing more heavily. There's actually four, which I'll come back to the other two later on. But there are four concepts that we discussed, but of that four, two were the most feasible for the sort of budget that we're envisioning will be allocated for us. Because as you can imagine, PPS has a great number of properties and a great deal of financial need that comes with all those properties. So these modernization projects, being Cleveland and Ida B. Wells, they can be allotted a certain amount, but it has to be a considerate amount so that other needs can be met with that same bond, right? So of those four approaches or concepts, these two sort of emerged as the most feasible. So one is the all new construction, and the other is keeping a piece of the existing structure and adding a new addition behind it. So next slide, please. So this is an aerial view of the current Cleveland High School. And what I mean by keeping a piece of the existing building is that this C shape that you see here, that is the larger chunk of the 1929 structure, and everything behind it is either the auditorium or additions that were added later on in the 50s and on. So as you can imagine, the construction in the 50s, there's a lot of things they didn't necessarily consider, such as ADA access, but more so in 1929. So as you can imagine, when you come in the facade, you have to go up the stairs and then downstairs to get to the classrooms, or either up the stairs and up more stairs. And there's really no ADA access to speak of unless you go around the building, and that's a whole set of things. But anyway, what this photograph represents is that yellow shaded area there is what would be demolished, and that C shape is what we would keep if we went with that option. So next slide, please. So an existing and new addition, it would be consolidated onto the current Cleveland site. It preserves the front of the building. There would be a new gymnasium and athletic program spaces added to that, and a theater and performing arts. So Cleveland, even though we would keep part of the structure, we would still have to add to it in order to accommodate the needs of our education specifications, which, target about 1,700 students capacity, right? So as you could imagine, you need quite a bit of facility to accommodate that. Next slide, please. So just some considerations we discussed was keeping the 1929 portion of the school would be approximately 9,500 square feet is what we would be able to save. 95,000. There is some opportunity to retain embodied carbon. We don't necessarily know to what extent, but there is opportunity for that. And it would require approximately 225,000 square feet of new construction. Next slide, please. So in the new construction model, again, it's consolidated onto one building or onto one site. And, I'll come back to that when I talk about the other two sites. But you can see that it's all new. It could either take an L shape like that, or any form of, square or rectangle you could imagine can fit onto that site. Next slide, please. What new construction offers, as some of when you've remodeled your house, when you remodel, you're constrained to the square footage that exists, right? And so there's really, you're limited to what you can do, and the outcome is sometimes not necessarily highly desirable. So this, on top of giving us the opportunity to lay out the classrooms in a way that's optimal for teaching and seating of the students, it also gives us the opportunity for optimal solar orientation of the building, so that we can take advantage of the heat of the sun rather than using heating in the winter or we can take advantage of the breeze, or, any number of things that we can work with where we can lay out the building and utilize, the sun. It also gives us the opportunity to use environmentally efficient building materials. So as you can imagine, building materials have come a long way from 1929, right? So Eric and myself worked on Lincoln High School, where we used tactile paneling for the exterior, which is a composite of concrete and fiberglass resin, right? And that is a really great way to keep heat out of the building and cool air in the building, right? Along with other insulation systems that go along with that style of building cladding. So those are type of materials we could use. And we're talking right now about mass timber, which, in the carbon conversation, for us, if we can build a structure using mass timber versus steel that needs to be created and transported and then thus installed, mass timber definitely is an advantage in the carbon savings. Mass timber is just the term they're using now for big chunks of wood. So like in the old construction, like at Old Town Pizza or something, where you might see a big wood beam, that they're making those now, but instead of making them out of logs, they make them out of compressed pieces of wood that could.
And body part, that's like the original wood structure, or what does that mean?
Embodied carbon is a term for the carbon that's already there. So it's the concept that you don't have to use new material if you already have material there.
Right.
You're welcome. And as I mentioned before, opportunity for optimized classroom and indoor spaces. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, we were largely discussing 4 different approaches to the site, or what it could be. One was the partial existing option that we talked about, and the all new construction. There were 2 other options that we talked about. Was, well, what if we put some building across the street and took advantage of the parking lot space? After discussing further with staff and students, in order for that idea to function and have the students cross the street safely multiple times a day, that would require building a sky bridge, which is what this yellow bar here is. So a sky bridge, on top of being very expensive, is somewhere about 12 to 14 million in and of itself, just for the sky bridge. They're also notoriously difficult to get permitted. If you're not a medical facility, it's very hard to get a sky bridge. So, but both of these options down the bottom included a sky bridge. And so that's where we started to get some estimates of what things would cost. So the brand new construction, as you see here on the upper left,
We can't read the numbers on there.
it is approximately, I was going to read them, but I needed to
Yeah.
read them myself just to make sure that I'm reading the right number.
Yeah.
So it's between 400 and 2,500 million for the base option, which would be the all new construction. And they get more expensive from there. So to retain a portion of the 1929 building, we're adding another 10 million to that 400 to 25. So that would be to keep that part of the building. To build a sky bridge and have an all new construction and program and across the street on the parking lot, we're looking at another 25 from the base cost. So you'd be looking at 425 million to build that bottom option there. And finally, the option that would keep part of the 29 building and build across the street, that's another $35 million in cost above the base option there, which is number 2. So in our discussions and just considerations of the needs of the district, all the district across, and trying to be, considerate of tax dollars, and also just thinking about what's going to be a more functional building for the students over the next 80 years, right? From that, we sort of came to a recommended option. Next slide, please. And so the recommended option is building all brand new on one site. No sky bridge, no building across the street. There would be no retaining of the facade or anything like that. It's just a straight up brand new building.
I'm sorry, did you say that the extra cost to retain some of the historic structure is about, you said $25 million more than 425? Is that right?
It was to keep part of the,
Back one slide.
So,
to keep part of the 29 building there, it would be 10 million more from the 400 million.
what is that, like 3% more? Something like that?
Yeah.
So the average cost to re-roof a PPS school is between 6 to 7 million.
The battery is low. USB-C is disconnected.
So, for,
Ah,
we don't really think in terms of,
Did you bring your power cord?
that's a projector.
It sounds like.
We figured that out last time, remember?
Retaining a historic structure. Is that right? It's occasional historic character.
yes, but we're not right now thinking in terms of savings as far as the project itself, but rather we're thinking about how funds could be allocated to other schools or other sites. And so $10 million, yes, it could be 3%. I haven't done the math in that way, but that's 2 roofs that could be put on an elementary school.
It is less than put it out. Retaining a storage.
I would start, I would strongly disagree with the idea that it would be 2 to 3%. Having gone through this at Benson, if you retain the facade and go through the historical society, you have to go to 1,504 meetings. It's like no joke. It's really intense. And you have to keep the original windows, which are not, right? Like if you want to save energy, you can't use old windows. You gotta get your 2-ply windows.
So you're saying it
Thank
would be more expensive than the 10 million or less? I'm sorry.
It would be more expensive than the 10 million because of the time, the hours that he would have to sit, they would probably get paid.
Because that's what the best is.
Can they hear that on Zoom?
Well, I think they have experience with what.
I think, please come up to the mic, ask questions, people can't hear you.
She did. It was a follow.
I was struggling to hear the question at the mic.
I don't think we should be debating whether their numbers are correct, because I mean, it's the best estimates they have, and they're very experienced with what's happening. So I wouldn't contradict what his numbers are, unless there's some other reason to do that.
There's a question in the chat.
Well, so I do want to repeat what I said just a minute ago. For us, for Eric and myself and the architecture team, we're not trying to shave dollars off a construction project. We're trying to make sure that if we can save $10 million, that's going to be on the bond to re-roof another school or to be invested into another building that is in greater need. So for us to do something, in the name of architecture or even like us wanting to look like rock stars by saving $20 million, that's not what we are intending to do. What we want to do is keep costs down so that when the bond hits that maximum amount that they could ask for, there's the largest number of projects across district wide. So I just want to clarify that again.
I think she's got a.
So there's a question in the chat talking about the Fred Meyer lot that has been in the news or whatever, anything to add on that?
So our district real estate person did have conversations with Fred Meyer, but Fred Meyer was very clear that they're not selling at this time. So that doesn't mean that they might not sell down the road, but at this time we were tasked to continue with the site that we have, and that's why we're working with what we have. But thank you for the question. Next slide, please. So that was the recommended option, brand new. Next slide, please. So there was a survey sent out. I don't know if anyone here received the link to the survey, but we did make sure that the neighborhood associations received the link. This was asking really two questions, but mainly the big question was, are you in favor of all new construction or modernizing the 1929 building? As you can see, out of 1,410 responses out of 5,000 people that it was mailed to, 81% support building all new on the Cleveland site, and 19% support keeping part of the 1929 structure. So, next slide, please. Another sort of strong point that led us towards that recommended option is one of our PPS high school planning principles is the school heart. And this is the idea that every school should have a gathering place for students to come together every day. And it sort of serves as the heart of the school where all other activities flow out to. So when we sat down and spoke with staff at Cleveland High School and the students, the main thing they kept bringing up was we have no outdoor space. We have no usable outdoor space. And if you were to go visit the Cleveland site right now, the only outdoor space they really have is where they pick up the trash, where the garbage trucks drive in, and there's another area that is also very highly inaccessible on an ADA level. And it is a very narrow sort of breezeway there with a couple of picnic tables. So we really wanted to create a design that could potentially maximize open space for the students. Next slide, please. So here you see the version with the partially existing building, and having to keep the C shape and building another C behind it, you're occupying almost the same footprint as you would at the current Cleveland site. So this would leave us with what that green space represents is the open space that we would have in this design. That would leave us with about 10,000 square feet, which is the equivalent of the Grant High School turf patch or the Franklin entry plaza. So next slide, please. In the new construction, because you don't have that other structure taking up square footage on the whole site of itself, you would end up with about 17,000 square feet, which is the equivalent to the plaza at Kellogg High School. So it is a considerable amount of square footage that you gain for the students to have outdoor space. You can see in the yellow there's an ample bike parking, which would be provided in either scenario, but it does have a nice sort of context there in this version. Next slide, please. And our next steps. So we're in the conceptual master planning phase, where we see here in phase one, we're about to move a little bit further down into design in 2024. And again, construction will depend on a future bond. So
if the bond, let's say, well, so this would be this year. I know this November the bond. Okay, so let's say it was approved. Do you have a general idea when construction perhaps would occur? Because I have a kid is a younger kid who's going to go to Cleveland eventually.
great question, Eric. If the bond was approved in November, when could we potentially earliest?
Probably the earliest construction could start would be in June of 2026, and then completing for opening in the fall of 28 of the new building. And then during construction, the school program would be relocated to the Marshall High School campus. So up further in that second. That's currently where the Benson High School program has been.
Is, follow, how do the kids, is there some transportation option besides mass transit for kids to get to Marshall?
Next time.
Well, yeah, that'll be worked out. Certainly there's a whole study about transportation and moving kids, you know, when that happens. So we just don't have those plans put together. And that'll be looked at.
If it makes you feel better, we have yellow buses. From Old Benson to New Benson.
And this was my last slide, so any more questions, we'd be happy to answer if we can.
Please come up and use the mic so they can hear you.
Yeah.
Just a question.
Please do.
Yeah, could you maybe give us like a little bit of a explanation about the wider picture of PPS high schools and like the work that you guys are doing across the different high schools? And like I've heard that your organization is basically fixing up all the high schools basically one by one. That's all I know. Can you give us a little bit of a
Of what
explanation of like what is actually going on?
right, what the actual.
What the master plan is.
Modernization is.
Really old and they.
Well, so Eric can answer that better than me as he's been here longer. You want to give him a little history about OSM?
Don't forget to introduce yourself, please.
So what have we been doing with the high schools?
Can you introduce yourself for the people on Zoom?
Sure. My name is Eric Girding. I'm with Portland Public Schools, and I work with Hector in the Office of School Modernization. So as far as the modernizing of PPS high schools overall, we started a bond program in 2012 was the first bond that was passed. And so there are 9 high schools within PPS, and we are working on the last 2 to be modernized, which is Cleveland and then Ida B. Wells over in Southwest. It used to be called Wilson High School. And so we've completed either modernizations or complete rebuilds then of Roosevelt, Franklin, McDaniel. As you know, we're talking about Benson as well. Benson's currently under construction.
Yeah.
Yes, and Lincoln High School was the project that we worked on together. We just completed that last year. Grant High School. Right, and so these are the last 2. It's as part of the long-range facility plan that the district established, was to modernize all PPS high schools so that all PPS students in their career with PPS would be able to experience a modernized teaching facility as they go through high school. I mean, there are over 90 school campuses and buildings that the district operates. And so, as you can imagine, to try to modernize all those would take 100 years, probably something like that. So it's just kind of, every few years modernizing the high schools, but also as Hector was mentioning, in these bond programs, we also have hundreds of millions of dollars that's going into those other 90 campuses where we're re-roofing, we're doing seismic upgrades, ADA upgrades, security upgrades, things like that. So that's why we're talking about really making sure we're being good stewards of our budget money, say on Cleveland, so that we know that other money can be allocated for, say, roofing projects, things like that. And there, I don't know if was there a question about sustainability?
No, you just asked.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
My only question is, how does this new design stack up against all the other new high schools that we already have that have been redone? Is it gonna be like for like, or are we still gonna be a little bit behind because of our footprint?
I'm just gonna.
Microphone, please. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw this out there that Eric is a Cleveland High School graduate.
Right.
And so it's gonna be good. And, for us, we we like to take pride in what we do. You know, we're coming off of the Lincoln High School project. We feel like we can bring a lot of those elements, not in the sense of the character of the school, but rather the modern materials and the comfort features of heating and cooling and, you know, everything like that. So the only thing that I can say personally is the site and, you know, it does have its challenges as it is the smallest site
Right.
in the PPS high schools.
Right.
But that aside, you know, it is definitely going to have everything every other new school has in terms of, you know, HVAC and electrical upgrades and, you know, just you name it, technology.
And it'll have all the offerings essentially as all the other high schools do. Okay.
Gym, auditorium.
Question.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I guess I'd like to add also is that as the district has been rebuilding
Please.
high schools for 12 years now. I mean, there have been lessons learned at each time, at each project. So then we go to the next project to make sure we're doing it just a little bit better. So there's actually some advantage to being kind of at the tail end of that. We're taking our lessons learned, you know, all the way forward and making sure we're doing the best we can at each time. So we know that Cleveland's going to be great.
We got a question online. Debbie, go ahead, Debbie.
Yes, when will we be able to see what it will look like at the street level? I mean, is it just going to be a box on the corner? I mean, what is it going to look like? Because it looks like a box on the corner.
Well, it is a box right now, so I do appreciate your comment. That is just an early sort of design, looking at the total site. As we go into our next phase of design, we will have some 3D renderings once we figure out what the height is of the actual building we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, over the next few months, and we'll be coming back to the association. We actually are 4 neighborhood associations that Cleveland High School campus touches. So we're going to be going all around, bringing back updates. We'll be sending notifications for our community design workshops where you can come and participate and see what the architects are doing and give us feedback and input on the design. We start schematic design this next month. And so that's really the very beginning of the actual design process. And it'll take another 18 months or so for us to get through all the design work. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to get, to see what it's going to start to look like and provide input to the team.
So I realize you're going to the neighborhood associations, but have you gone to the Catholic Charities yet? So if you're going up Powell, on the left, there's a McDonald's, right? There's a Starbucks. If you take a turn down there, that's Kateri Park, the Catholic Charities. It's an organization that goes to refugee camps around the world. And it brings people back from Nepal, from Afghanistan, from Somalia. The concern I have is that I teach English there. They are a language minority group. They're not getting your emails, they're not understanding your emails. And they have a lot of needs in terms of Muslim students being able to have access to a prayer space and a wash space. So washing hands and feet and being able to pray. And I guess the washing of the hands and feet has to be different, male and female. So it's a really big thing for me that you guys take the time to go talk to them, because they have a lot of needs that are pretty individualistic. The second thing I wanted to point out is I teach at Benson High School and I teach English as a second language, but I also run the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, the GSA. And we went and toured all the new remodels and looked at the new bathroom situations, because students who are transgender are having problems. I'm sure you saw the thing about Next Benedict in the news. Bathrooms are a really big thing for trans people to be able to have access. Have you guys looked at the Everybody bathrooms at Grant, or what is your plan for the bathrooms at Cleveland?
To the first question, we have a community engagement firm that we're working with called After Bruce, who's specifically tasked with reaching out to underrepresented communities or anyone else who might not necessarily feel comfortable engaging with us in these workshops. So any group that you think that we should reach out to, please, take my email or Eric and send us the name of that group, and we can coordinate with our community engagement specialists to reach out to them. And
Kateri Park in particular is on our list of places that we're going to be. Thank you.
And in terms of the restrooms, as all the modernizations progressed, we do incorporate single user restrooms as much as we can. And at Lincoln High School, I'd say there are less sort of regular restrooms than there are, private stalls, right? So we are incorporating that same system at Cleveland and at Wells.
And the prayer
Prayer room, unfortunately, that's something we can't speak to because that would require district policy or district coordination with the school itself. It's more of an operational question. We just build the actual spaces. Certainly, what we do is we try to plan for spaces that could be flexible. So like this space here could be a lot of things, it has the kitchen or it has this open space, or it could be a library, it could be a classroom, it could be a prayer room, it could be, you name it. So that's the sort of approach that we try to take, is to make sure that every space that could be flexible has enough power, data connections, and room for furnishings to change as the programs need to change.
Yes, but the prayer room needs a wet wall, right? Like they need that water applied in. Does that make sense?
I don't follow.
It needs water.
They need to be
Yeah.
washed their
Needs to
feet.
wash, yeah. I think that's gonna be something that they'll probably have to implement in every school if they implement one school.
They implemented it in Benson.
Okay,
Okay.
have to start somewhere too.
Yeah.
That's because Benson.
yeah, right,
Also, different communities have.
yeah, in different communities, yeah, it's true.
Well, we're certainly open to discussing that with the Benson team. I mean, we all work in the same department, and so if they were able to do it, we can certainly talk about it and see. But ultimately, I do want to add that if Cleveland High School doesn't necessarily see a need for that, then that's something that we also have to respect as well. So for us, it's a balancing act of what we can and cannot do, and taking input from the stakeholders.
Debbie has a question online again. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yes, you had mentioned that if it's a complete tear down, it will be about 2 years from tear down to reopening. Is that correct? Because the life of a high schooler is only 4 years. So, it's really this moving them out of the neighborhood, for the majority, or in some cases, the entirety of the high school year, if it's going 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it would be about 2 years. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm a substitute school teacher, most recently working for Portland Public Schools, and I have substituted out at Marshall. Marshall is the designated school where Benson becomes Benson at Marshall, and Cleveland will become Cleveland at Marshall. And there's a whole setup for taking the kids out there, and it's a really regular, normal high school. It's the normal high school that we used to think of, not the beautiful new high schools that these people are creating. I've taught at Roosevelt, the first one. Beautiful feeling of community and kids being able to gather together. Only thing you did wrong at Roosevelt, and I know you didn't do it at all, was that I found acoustic areas where I could hear what the kids were saying, and they didn't realize it. But so consider this a request for a prayer room and a connection to the Catholic Charities.
Thank you. And as Eric mentioned before, the department has been getting better with each school. So we're definitely taking as much input and as many lessons learned, as we say in the business, as we can, making sure we don't make the same mistakes, or we can improve on anything that, we can improve on.
Just, curious, I drive by Benson all the time. It was wild to watch. So they didn't do a complete tear down, but it looked like they were putting up huge wire cables to support things, or what did they do there?
What they did at Benson was what they call a facadectomy.
Yeah.
Where they remove the structure of the building, the guts, everything, you name it, and just keep the face of it. So that requires quite a bit of bracing in the interim before they can put up structure to hold it up. So
That's a save on taxes. Keep that wall.
That way it's a remodel. And
Right,
not a
it's a
new construction.
that's right.
Yeah.
How was the city of Portland with your permits? Okay, that was just
Really?
I was teasing. That was.
All right.
To be answered.
Well, if nobody else has any questions, we'll let these gentlemen go for the evening. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We look forward to coming back to
Yes.
give more updates.
Yes, yeah, we will love to hear more updates. Okay, I just want to share a few things that are going on in the neighborhood before we forget. On Saturday morning, we have our famous egg hunt. And that is going to be, I believe, at 10 a.m. at Brooklyn Park. So if you have kids or no kids in the neighborhood, bring them by. Next Wednesday is,
If you have no kids in the neighborhood, bring them down.
if I have, yeah, if you know kids,
Look at that.
right, if you know kids. Next Wednesday is my plug for the business association. We're doing our business association meeting at 9 a.m. at Security Signs. And that's going to be, next Wednesday. Or not Wednesday, sorry, next Friday, excuse me. Friday morning, 9 a.m. at Security Signs. And, let's see, what else is going on in the neighborhood, Cheryl? This next month.
Board elections.
Oh, yeah. So yes, we have board elections coming up in May, end of May. We also have all of you who have volunteered in the year of 2023. We have our large volunteer event, and that's going to be on April 27th. So make sure that you put that on your calendar for the afternoon of April 27th. And we'll be at 503 Brewing, Distilling, and they will be sharing a cocktail with you as well. Let's see, what else? Anything? Is that it? Is that it for now? Oh, the Earth Day movie. That's right. That's right. BCAT's doing a movie for Earth Day. It's called Tomorrow. And that is going to be on April 20th. Is that April 20th?
Yes.
April 20th.
Need to get that event.
And
He's looking for it.
scroll down.
No.
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
And then we have,
It's not on the calendar for some-
the 27th. It's not on the calendar for some reason. Okay. Earth Day litter pickup and plant swap is on the 20th. Anyways, that's pretty much it for April, I believe.
Okay.
We had a great showing at the Napoleon Dynamite the other night. So that was spectacular. We had a great showing. It was a lot of fun. Very dynamite. It was dynamite. I think that's it.
Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. I love it.